Hello, I'm Dr. Isa Ahmed Sharif from the Department of Human Physiology, Faculty of Basic Medical Sciences, Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. You're welcome to Hphy 226 General Physiology 1. Module 3 discusses mechanism of breathing or mechanics of breathing. In this lecture, you will be understanding the muscles of respiration that involves the inspiratory and the expiratory muscles, as well as the mechanics of breathing or respiration. Or you could also refer to it as the mechanism of respiration. In previous lectures, you must have understood the physiologic anatomy of the respiratory system, and you're supposed to understand that respiration involves inspiration and expiration. Respiration occurs in two phases, inspiration and expiration. And inspiration requires you inspiring air, and expiration requires you expiring air. And then the muscles of respiration also involve the inspiratory muscles that are involved in inspiration and the expiratory muscles that are involved in expiration. For the inspiratory muscles, you have the main or the primary muscles of inspiration, and they include the diaphragm, which you can see here from this mannequin down here. You see the diaphragm lies below the thoracic cage, and you have the external intercostal muscles. Those are the muscles or the primary muscles of inspiration. You also have the accessory muscles of inspiration, and the number of them, you have the quadratus lumborum, you have the sternocleidomastoid, you have the serratus posterior inferior, the serratus posterior superior, and a number of them. And these usually are engaged when you have forced breathing, probably during muscular exercise. That is when those muscles are usually engaged. For the expiration generally is a passive process. It doesn't require the engagement of any of the muscles. So it's more like a rubber band. If you have a rubber band, for you to expand it, you need to use force. But for it to go to its original size, it requires its elastic property. So the lung has its elastic property, and once it expands, it goes naturally to its normal original size. So expiration is generally passive, but you have forced expiration that involves the engagement of other muscles. And these muscles involve the internal intercostal muscles as well as the abdominal muscles. Now, for the mechanism of breathing, you have all these muscles coming together to cause breathing, and they have their different forms of occurring. Now, for the inspiration, you have, as I mentioned earlier, the diaphragm. Now, when you have the diaphragm, as it is here on the mannequin, the diaphragm is curved when it is relaxed. When it contracts, it tends to shorten, and then you have an increase in the vertical diameter of the thoracic cage. Now, for the external intercostal muscle on this mannequin, it tends to elevate the ribs as well as the sternum, and then it increases the anterior posterior diameter. From our chemistry, you know that Boyle's law, where you have a volume of a given mass of gas, is inversely proportional to pressure, provided temperature remains constant. So once you have an increase in the anterior posterior diameter of the thoracic cavity, and then you have an increase in the vertical diameter with the contraction of the diaphragm, then you have an increase in the volume of the rib cage. And then this tends to reduce the pressure in the lungs. Therefore, you have a pressure gradient between the atmospheric pressure and the pressure inside the lungs, or the intrapulmonary pressure. And then air moves in from the atmosphere into the lungs, and the volume of that air that moves in is 500 mils. Now, for that to occur, you have all the muscles taking place. That's for normal, resting, quiet breathing that is usually referred to as apnea. For expiration to occur, the only thing that happens is that the lungs go back to their original size, so because of the elastic ability. So you don't have any muscle taking place. But when you have a forced breathing during exercise or muscular exercise, you need to engage all those other muscles of breathing. So from this lecture, we understood the inspiratory and then the expiratory muscles that involves the diaphragm, the external intercostal muscles, which are the main muscles of inspiration. And then you have other accessory muscles of inspiration that involves the sternocleidomastoid, the scalene, the serrator, and the rest of them. And then for the expiratory process, it's elastic, so it is passive. And then you have few accessory muscles of expiration that assist in this mechanism of breathing. And once you have the muscles of inspiration engaging, you have increase in the volume and therefore decrease in pressure. And then you have air flowing from the atmosphere into the lungs. And then for expiration to occur, you have it as a passive process. Thank you.